Last night we had an unfortunate incident to happen at the University of Tennessee and resulted in the arrest of 14 students over there, which we regret very much. But they failed to realize the danger in the snowballs, the people passing. If they just get to themselves in a football field or somewhere and have the fun, we'd be glad to help them. But we had, I guess, something like 100 calls and several injured. One snowball had part of a brick bat wrapped in it, of course, and did some damage to a man that was hit behind the ear. We had them thrown through buses. They had cars stopped with elderly people in them and stalled and pushed to the curb and refused to let them go on.
These were the words of University of Tennessee officials in 1960 after 14 students were tear-gassed and arrested following a massive snowball fight on UT's campus. But 5 years later,
it was a free-for-all, and people did die.
On an especially snowy day in February, the University of Tennessee took center stage in national headlines and created a local legend that would survive for decades.
Yeah, it was the fact that UT was a big university back then. It was probably half the size it is today, but it was 15,000 kids, and a lot of them were 18, 19 years old. And suddenly they were there on campus with nothing to do because they called off classes, and they just began roaming around. And of course, snow invites all sorts of responses, from snowmen to snowball fights. And there was a lot of snowball fights that day up and down Cumberland Avenue.
With a fresh blanket of snow on the ground, things quickly snowballed as 200 students flocked to the Strip, creating an intimidating atmosphere.
And they didn't care what problem they were causing for people who were just driving down Cumberland Avenue. People kind of dare each other to do something, especially when you're 18, 19 years old, and you're just trying to show that you're tough and brave and willing to do anything to impress your friends. And I think that was what was happening.
The students soon targeted cars, then drivers. One middle-aged driver named Roland Lawson had a deadly heart attack while driving after someone threw a snowball at him.
Just driving home to his home in South Knoxville, and was mobbed by snowballs, and he just happened to have a coronary and died on the spot.
Students pelted truck driver William Willett with snow, and then Willett pulled out his gun and shot into the crowd.
But the truck driver, he was in his cab. Some people claim that they opened his door and pulled him out of his cab, and that's when he shot his gun. And other people say no, it wasn't like that at all. But a kid was killed as a result of that. And I'm not even sure the kid that died was even one of the snowball throwers.
The third and final death is also the most mysterious. Walter Yao died after complaining of a headache and said he had been hit with a snowball. And Yao told police that he was a truck driver who stopped to help people during the snowball riots. But as they investigated, police learned that he had stayed at the Salvation Army, and he had other medical issues that may have caused his death. And Yao's story may be up in the air, but what is well recorded is the university's response to the snowball fight. Nationwide, newspapers mentioned that then UT President Andy Holt decided that this would never happen again.
I think they should have stopped it before it went to the extent that it did. Long before this incident happened, I think it was well out of hand, and it should have been put an end to.
What do you think your reaction would be if you were driving a car on a slick, snowy street and someone came and turned it around, put snow in it, and threw snowballs at you?
I'd be furious too, like the truck driver was.
Do you think that there's any way that we can stop this? The university says they're going to stop students from congregating. Do you think that'll help?
Well, I don't know about that. I think that maybe the students themselves, it should be left up to them, and they should know better than do things like that.
I view the whole affair with mixed emotions. Naturally, I'm in sympathy with anyone who gets pelted with snowballs, yet I also am broad-minded enough to realize that teenagers should be able to go out and have fun in the snow.
What do you think can be done about this? You think it can be stopped?
Oh, yes.
How?
Well, I mean, it won't happen again.
Because there were 3 deaths this time? It's happened many times in the past.
Oh, well, it won't happen again.
Do you think the university is at fault?
No, I don't. I think it's an individual. The individual did it, not the school. The school can't be held responsible for all the actions of its students.
For years following the incident, UT chose to remain open, even during heavy snowfall.
No matter how bad it snowed, UT was open for business because they wanted to keep those kids off the streets. It's interesting. the effect that this had on the university. This was the administration was appalled at what happened. They kind of owned up to it. They said this is partly our fault, and we should take measures to prevent this ever happening again. And one of the ways they did this was by banning snowball throwing at UT, which over the years a lot of people thought was a silly thing until they heard the story about what happened in '65.
UT's snow policy has changed, at least in the last few decades, as the university has canceled classes for weather a handful of times, including once during the snow in December 2024.
This was a national story that appeared in dozens and dozens of newspapers across, coast to coast. That this was, three dead in Knoxville, was saying as a result of a snowball fight. That may be oversimplifying. It got people's attention.